Well, hello and welcome, and thank you for joining us. My name is Chris Shelton. This is my lovely wife, Teresa Shelton, and we own and operate the Morning Cream Healing Arts Center in San Jose, California, as well as here in Los Angeles, actually, to be more technical, in Burbank. Anyways, we have, well, for myself, I have over 30 years of experience in the healing arts. I got my introduction with Qigong when I was 19 years old, actually.
19 years old. And first of all, welcome to Qi Discovery Week, day number 2.
Day number 2.
Transformation.
Today we're talking about the transformations that happen as a result of practicing these very simple and ancient practices, and it's so easy to do that anybody can learn it.
That's right. So 20 years of it, or 30 years of experience for you. Let's see, I started in 2003. Wow, that's 19 years. I just did some math there.
Quick math.
So, almost 50 years combined experience. As a wife team.
And so one of the things that we want to share with you during Qi Discovery Week, if you're brand new to the practice of Qigong, is number one, first and foremost, how simple it is. Number two, what I talked about yesterday was that it doesn't discriminate against age, gender, ethnic background, religious or spiritual belief background, because it's not a ism. It's not one of those things that's, some people, there are certain types of Qigong. I think like Falun Gong, I think is more of a spiritual style of Qigong. I could be wrong on that. But the style of Qigong that we teach is based upon the 5 elements, and the 5 elements in Chinese medicine describe so many things, and most importantly, it describes our 5 major emotions and our 5 major organs in our body that helps to sustain life. So,
that's right. Pretty much, if you have a body and a willingness to try and invest some time in yourself, then you can benefit from the practice.
Yeah, so just as a little recap from yesterday, if you're just now joining us, welcome. So we have during this Qi Discovery Week, we offer a couple of things. So besides seeing patients in clinic and helping them with various chronic diseases and chronic pain, we also teach Qigong and Tai Chi. And in fact, I used to compete with Tai Chi as a martial art. I was ranked 10th at one point in the U.S. and
the silent killer.
But anyways, we have the Qi classes. We have the Qi Club. We also have a Qigong teacher training program. The next one actually launches at the end of this month, right?
End of this month, yeah.
So if you're somebody that wants to dive deeper within the Qigong practices, we notice that a lot of people that take the Qigong teacher training course actually does not want to teach. And actually most people just want to dive deeper into their own self-cultivation.
But there's still quite a few teachers too.
Well, we have, quite a few teachers.
But if you're interested in diving deep, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, my point is that most people, because it starts with, healer heal thyself, right? Or physician heal thyself. So a lot of people actually will take the course just to dive deeper within their own journey, their life journey.
That's true. That's true. And yesterday we talked about the opportunity. We gave some case studies. We demonstrated the heart healing sound and the heart cleansing exercise. Today we're going to talk a little bit about the regulations and some Qi clearing exercises. We're going to move to the chat a little bit more and answer some questions. So
please type in your questions. We'd love to answer any questions that you may have. And so once again, Qigong is over 5,000 years old, and Qi is the life force energy that emanates through all living things. Gong is the skill in which to harness this energy in order to improve our health and our mental, emotional well-being. So if you see the word like Gong Fu, what that means is it means skill with a fist. Okay, so again, Qigong is the foundation of acupuncture in Chinese medicine. It's also the foundation of Tai Chi. And when people call and ask about taking classes, they'll say, well, Chris, which one should I do? If you want something more physical, I would recommend doing the Tai Chi. You hear about all the health benefits of Tai Chi because what it does is it focuses you to be more in the moment, because that form is kind of complex to learn. So you do increase gentle stretching and gentle muscle tonification of the legs, as well as clarity of the mind. Plus, it's been known to help to increase gray matter in the brain, help to reduce blood pressure, and various forms of cardiac conditions. So it's, and Harvard and Stanford have been writing papers on this now for years now. And so there's something to be said about these simple practices. And I think that's really what it's about. It's a simple practice with profound results. And And some systems say, well, we need to work on ourselves. And for us, it's not about working on yourself, because I think sometimes that has a negative connotation attached to it. Self-refinement, self-transformation, self-reflection. I think self-cultivation. I mean, these are, I think, better words to describe what happens when you practice Qigong. And what's interesting is that when you start the practice, you know, you may not feel much. I know for myself, when I first started, I didn't feel really much of anything, except for I noticed that my health was improving, my digestive issues were resolving, my chronic sinus issues had resolved, and also my OCD. I had obsessive compulsive disorder. As somebody that was always checking the stove 20 times before going to bed, or checking the lock on the front door to make sure it was locked. So, so it's subtle, and we want that subtlety, because when something transitions subtly, then you don't have its opposite. So if something is too sharp of an incline, you have to have its opposite.
Right, what goes up must come down.
Yeah, so you have to have that opposite. So what's interesting about the practice of Qigong is that once you've been practicing for a while, you may notice that, like, oh wow, like things in my life have actually improved. Not only has my health improved, but maybe my relationships have improved. I maybe showing up with more abundancy in my life as a result, because we're all a vibration. And so as we continue to change our vibration to a higher resonancy, then we draw in people in situations of that higher vibration as well too. So I think that's a really cool thing about transformation.
That is really cool. And actually, funny thing is that before I met Chris, it was probably like maybe 3 months before I met Chris, I was introduced to Qigong through a different teacher at a local junior college. And so maybe that 3-month Qi cultivation in myself is what allowed us to attract each other. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, so it's like a vibration. One of the ways I like to describe it is that if you put a brand new guitar string on a guitar and you pluck that guitar string, that vibration is very coarse, so you can see it with the naked eye. So as you tune the guitar string, you pluck that guitar string, you know, the vibration becomes much, much more refined. You can't see it vibrating, but it's vibrating now at a higher frequency, and that's what happens with Qigong. But it's very, very subtle.
It's the subtle energy. Yeah,
so we're all vibration.
It's also profound too. Because I remember myself as like more mental clarity and sleeping better right away.
Yeah, there's so many different health benefits. It's been known to help with, like I said, high blood pressure. You know, there's so much talk nowadays and not enough attention towards like Alzheimer's and those degenerative diseases. And, you know, so practicing Qigong is also a way to help to maybe prohibit that from coming in. And in Chinese medicine, actually, something like that would be considered a phlegm condition in Chinese medicine, because there's an obstruction within the fluids, the spinal fluids, and causing obstruction with the nerves and degeneration of the brain. So, So it's one of those things that as we go through and we do these practices, we start to notice more and more that our life overall improves. And again, you don't have to believe in it. You don't have to understand what Qi is. And as I was saying yesterday, if you just think of Qi in terms of blood or fluids inside the body, then that's, you know, that is really what your Qi is.
And it's kind of like a light bulb. Meaning, like, you don't really have to know how the light bulb works in order to flip the switch and enjoy the benefits that the light bulb can bring to the room. Same thing with Qi. Yeah. So
the interesting thing about the Qi Club, a little background of how the Qi Club got started. So we were pre-pandemic, we're teaching classes for San Francisco Bay Wildlife Society, for
Center for Spiritual Living, the county,
different offices, also Western Digital, the Special Olympics. And then the pandemic hit, and what happened was that our friend down here in Los Angeles, Hollywood physique expert Eric the trainer, started a Sleep Ninja workout program for free. And Eric is a lot of fun. He's this massive Jewish guy with blonde hair, but he has such a big heart. And because of his clientele, are mostly all celebrities, whether it's from rock and roll bands to, you know, well-known actors and actresses, he would have these celebrities on his Sleep Ninja workout. So as he's walking everybody through these workouts, you know, he'd be interviewing, you know, let's say Mike from Nickelback, the guitarist from Nickelback, like, hey Mike, what are you up to these days, you know? And Mike would be on there working out, talking about what's going on with him, what's going on with the band and stuff like that. So he made it a lot of fun. But what happened was that Eric actually every week would have a challenge. Like he would have the golden pillow challenge where you had to be in bed by 9 p.m. He would have the food curfew challenge where you had to stop eating by 7 p.m. So nothing after. So then what he did was he did the 7-day cheat challenge and had me on there. And again, this is during the time of unknown. This is right in the heart of the pandemic, and people were, out of work. People were isolating. People were afraid. They were frozen in fear. There's so many unknowns, and so, anyways, people on his Sleep Ninja workout really enjoyed the 7-day cheat challenge.
I loved it. Yeah.
So after that, what we did was I continued to teach the class 3 days a week.
We did cheat challenge continues.
Continues, yeah, 3 days a week, and then once we started to see that the economy was opening back up, that things were kind of getting back to a new normal, I guess you would say. We started the Chi Club, and we didn't realize the impact that it had on so many people's lives until we transitioned to the Chi Club, because all of a sudden we started getting donation checks and letters from people from around the world saying how much the Qigong helped them psychologically during this scary unknown that was going on around the world,
Yeah, that's true.
And so
incredible. So it was like this switch transition, and so many case studies, like the example of Yvette. Remember her?
So Yvette, for example, we're talking about transformation. So Yvette found us because we were sponsored by Open Space Authority. So Open Space Authority would pay us to go out to teach Tai Chi to the public in their open space reserves. And we're at Don Edwards San Francisco Bay Wildlife Society in the wetlands there in San Francisco Bay. And
when she first called, I remember she said, "I'm so exhausted." She had like a Chi exhaustion condition. She could barely get out of bed. She's like, "I'm not even sure I can lift my arms to do the practice." And we told her, just come and observe, and if you feel tired, sit down, and even in your mind, imagining yourself doing the movements, going through the breath practices, you will get benefit.
So anyway, so she showed up to Dawn Edwards. So the condition that she had been suffering with is RA, which is rheumatoid arthritis, and she's young, and she had 3 kids, and was bedridden for, I think she said 2 years.
2 years,
yeah. Bedridden, and she was a hairdresser before. Bedridden, was in chronic pain all the time, and couldn't figure out, Western medicine couldn't figure out what was wrong with her. She showed up to Dawn Edwards, took the Tai Chi class, which I was actually teaching Qigong, and at the end of that first class, she saw a difference.
She felt better.
So then what happened was on YouTube, we have the 30 days of Qigong on YouTube for free. It's like you're taking 30 days with me at the studio in San Jose, so each day I talk about the practice, why you're doing it according to Chinese medicine. Each day builds on top of that practice. Well, she started to do the 30 days of Qigong. Then she started, as her strength started to improve from the 30 days of Qigong, then she started coming to the live classes at CSL. And then she actually became a teacher trainer and graduate of level 1 and level 2. And now she's teaching
and loving and living life.
Yeah, got married this last year.
It's incredible.
Like, so her whole health changed, and she is not the only one. And this is the remarkable thing about practicing Qigong. And going back to what I was talking about yesterday, and this goes with cases like RA, a lot of diseases and a lot of inflammatory diseases, that the leading cause of death is emotional trauma. And it's not that these emotions are bad, it's when we don't process them properly that it actually will show up as disease.
So what would you say to somebody who says, I want to join an in-person live class, I don't want to do stuff online?
What's really nice about the Chi Club is that, there's nothing better than being outdoors or being in a public setting, being able to take live classes. But what's nice about the Chi Club is that we have people from around the world that join. We have, almost a couple hundred members right now, and on average we have about 25 to 30 people that show up daily live, and then we see that people go later on and they watch the show later on after they get off work. But what I can tell you is that from the comfort of your own home or from your office, that little half hour, taking that little break to be able, or to start off your day, if 8 o'clock in the morning, Pacific Standard Time is the start of your day, it's a great way to just get things moving. And I guarantee you the rest of your day will be much, much, much better because you've now increased your consciousness and your awareness, and you've gone from being so external up here back into here. So I would say that, yeah, it's always nice to have a live in-person class, but in this day and age, and with there's so many unknowns, what a better way to have health classes that improve your health with like-minded people from around the world.
And I would also add to that is that the community is that since we're not actually in the same space, practicing at the same time, even if you're doing the recording, you can just imagine that other people are doing the practice and the movements at the same time. And my feeling is that has an effect on our energy systems because as within and without, as above and below, we're all connected. So even though we're not in the same physical space, we're in that same time space together, and that is seriously the next best thing.
Yeah, so Bill Douglas actually started World Tai Chi and Qigong Day. Gosh, I don't even know how many years ago, 15 years ago, more probably. And what he does is that you get people from around the world all practicing Qigong or Tai Chi at the same time, and that kind of vibration helps to uplift the planet. And really, when we look at transforming the planet, say, well, how can I help transform and uplift the planet? Well, first and foremost, it starts with you. You have to lift up your own vibration first. Right. And then from when you lift up your own vibration and you connect with like-minded people from around the world that want to improve their vibration, improve their health, then it has a trickle effect, right? It ripples.
Trickle effect.
Yeah.
Trickle effect.
Yeah, it definitely ripples out. So one of the nice things about the Chi Club is that, number one, we make it a lot of fun.
Fun, yeah.
We start off, believe it or not, this is Eric the trainer is doing, but we start off with a couple of puppets in the morning, some fun music, and then we jump right into the practice. And as I'm teaching the practices, like what we're going to do today, I talk about why we're doing it according to Chinese medicine. Because what I love about Qigong is that it has the mindfulness aspect that John Kabat-Zinn had developed, right?
Yeah.
So John Kabat-Zinn had started the mindfulness revolution. Gosh, whether in the 80s, I think?
No, 70s.
70s. Yeah. And in the basement of a hospital, and doctors at the time thought he was crazy because he started giving these mindfulness meditations to his patients, and what he saw was just the transformation that was happening in his patients' lives. So Qigong has that mindfulness aspect, which I would consider that yin aspect, but then also has a yang aspect as well too. So no matter what the practice is that we're teaching you, every single practice is meant to do something medicinally inside the body.
That's so cool.
Every single practice.
Should we do the practice or go to the chat real fast?
Well, let's see what some people were saying.
I'm going to go to the chat real fast and just say, hi Deb, good morning.
Hi Deb.
I see Maureen. Peachy Pie, Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
Good morning.
Hi, Cherie.
Nancy Bergman, hi, good morning from Campbell.
Nancy Bergman, oh my gosh.
Nancy, in the past.
Oh my gosh, that is so funny. Anyways, Nancy, I'm coming out with my second book, actually, on how to fix back problems yourself. And I give you a credit in that book. The book is in the line editor's hands. So it's how to fix from the cervical spine all the way down to the lumbar. And one of the things that we talk about in there is not only how to fix it yourself, but understanding not only the physiology behind back pain, but also too, what is the emotional components?
Wow.
Wow, that's a blast from the past. Well, thank you so much.
Nice to see you online. Chris always talks about you and how much you helped him back in the day.
And what's funny, Nancy, is that you had turned me on to Liz Koch a number of years ago. Liz Koch, I would say, is the queen of the psoas. She wrote a book called the Psoas Book. And what's funny is that Priest and I had our own studio where we taught fitness classes, Tai Chi and kickboxing, Pilates, and we would rent out that.
Yeah, Liz came a bunch of times.
Liz actually came, talk about full circle, but Liz Koch actually came and taught seminars at our center more than once. And
several times.
Yeah, so anyway, so great to see you.
World.
Small world. But yeah, so that's one of the things. And talking about disease, and we'll see it all the time where we'll see somebody who's physically fit, and yet does not dying of carotid artery disease, for example,
Right.
And
Yeah.
so
Or who appears fit. Yeah.
And so another case study of mine a number of years ago, I had a gal, she's a personal trainer, and one of the ways that I could diagnose or assess is by reading a person's face, because every line, every feature on your face tells a story about how a person thinks, tells me your personality, but more importantly, tells me emotional traumas and potential diseases inside the body. And Chinese face reading was developed because thousands of years ago, Chinese doctors at the time thought it was inappropriate to touch women to diagnose them. And so it was very accurate. But anyway, so this gal came in and she had a lumbar stenosis. And so as I'm doing her intake, I said, okay, well, we'll fix the lumbar stenosis, but you have to deal with that resentment that you have towards men. And she says, oh, I dealt with that years ago. I was like, all right, whatever. So I continued to type her soap notes.
Wait, side note, some people might not know what lumbar stenosis means.
Okay, so stenosis, so lumbar is your back. So stenosis is, like you could have a stenosis of the artery walls, for example. Narrowing. So it's a narrowing of the canal for which the nerves come out of the spine. And that's
in the lumbar, which means lower back.
Correct. So that's what creates, so the stenosis then pitches on that nerve, and then that's what creates the pain, the numbness, and the deficiency.
Okay, sorry. So you're taking your notes.
So I'm taking my notes. So anyway, so we fix her back, and she continues to come in if she got the flu or had something else going on. And then one day she came in, and she said something I saw on her tongue, something I saw on her face, and I said, I want you to make an appointment with your primary. I want your carotid arteries tested. She goes, you're crazy. She goes, look at me. She goes, I work out 1 to 2 hours every day. I eat healthy. I have almost 0% body fat. And I said, I'm seeing something here. It's up to you what you do with it. Fast forward 2 weeks later. 2 weeks later, she's in my lobby in tears. And she said, I want to thank you for saving my life. Both my carotid arteries are 70% blocked.
Wow.
So if she's eating right and she's exercising, what was the one component that she was missing?
Her past resentments.
Her past resentments. And so luckily for both of us, her physician and I worked together. We didn't put on any medications. We put her on a specific herbal formula, changed her diet according to Chinese nutrition, not according to Western nutrition. We gave her these Qigong practices, and in 1 year she went in and her arteries were all clear.
Wow.
And that's not magic. So this is what we're talking about how profound these practices of Qigong really are. So, so just as a recap, we teach the Qigong for mental health. We have contracts with HHS. We have we're also clinical directors for the Special Olympics for Northern California for a new program called Healthy Athletes, Strong Minds, where we give these practices to the athletes, coaches, and their families to deal with stress. And
the silent killer.
So the silent killer. And like if you're being bullied by somebody, what do you do with that energy, right? So again, it's not that emotions are bad; it's when they're not expressed appropriately that it does show up as disease.
We need like an outlet.
And working out is a great outlet, but also still it doesn't get into the vibration of the trauma itself.
Wow.
So it's still a good way to help to process stress, and obviously we need to exercise as the physical form of movement to keep our bodies healthy, to help with our longevity, but we have to go inward as well too.
A balance between the inner and the outer.
Yes, and so I have my first book is Qigong for Self-Refinement, Total Health with the 5 Elements, and like I was just saying, for 5 years now I've been writing a book on the DIY Home Remedies Guide to, is it 7 years? 7 years.
2015.
Oh my gosh, this book is a monster. Anyways, I'm happy to say that this DIY book on back ailments is in the line editor's hand. We have a publishing company now that's going to be publishing as soon as I get the manuscript back from the line editor. And the whole thing is how to self-empower people, right? Self-empowerment.
You got the power.
Yeah, how can you empower yourself in order to be the best version of yourself, to live a life pain-free, emotionally balanced, right? So I think it's something that we all need to have, especially in this time-space reality. I think that it's really important for us to collectively go inward, because so many of us are on our phones or on our computers, right? And
like that. It's almost like I was thinking. It's almost like a shock absorber Meaning, like, there's going to be bumps in the road called life, right? I mean, we can't avoid it. We live in society. We have to work amongst other people. But if you're driving in like an old beat up car and you drive down that road, you're going to feel those bumps in the road.
Right.
But let's say you upgrade into a brand new 2020 fancy Tesla. Oh, those are fancy. And you're driving down that same road. Yeah, there's bumps in the roads, but you might not feel the bumps as drastically because you have the tools and the ability, the shock absorbing qualities in order to move through the road called life a little bit more effectively and efficiently.
Yeah, so that's one of the things. So I would say let's start off here with some of the foundations of Qigong. There's the three regulations. I talked about them yesterday. The first regulation is posture. So you're standing in a Wuji posture, and once again, Wuji just translates as nothingness or emptiness. And what's going to happen is our feet are out about shoulders width apart. Our knees are gently unlocked. We're tucking the sacrum underneath, pressing back the ming men, which is the acupuncture point, right opposite the belly button. We're hollowing out the armpits. You could actually imagine that you have like little water balloons resting on your thighs. Tip the tongue gently curls to the roof of the mouth behind the teeth as if saying the letter N. Tucking the chin, pressing up with the pathway at the top of the head, lightly squeezing. The anal sphincter muscle relaxing the body.
That always makes me giggle. Okay.
It's like a 5-year-old girl. I say anal sphincter muscle, and she starts chuckling. Okay, so that's the physical posture that we're standing in here. The second regulation is our breath. We want our breath to be long, steady, even, and deep in through the nose. And the reason why through the nose is because you can actually regulate the flow of qi much better when you breathe in and out through the nose. Mm-hmm. Now, most people will breathe into their chest. So the practice here is we want to bring the breath 1 inch below the belly button in particular and really feel that abdomen expand as you inhale, and then as you exhale, allowing for that to fill up into our kidneys, okay, or into that lower field of elixir is also referred to. Third regulation is mind intent. We have a saying that the imagination leads the mind and the mind leads the smooth flow of qi. And if you're brand new to qi, because it's way too cheesy for you, just think of it in terms of blood or fluids inside your body. So we have a saying that the blood contains the qi and the qi moves the blood around the body. So, this is the best way to understand what this energy is. So if you have a hard time conceiving, well, what is energy? What should I be expecting to feel? My suggestion is just have an open mind, and as we guide you through some of these practices, then just use your mind intent in order to help to facilitate the movement of this blood or lymph system or fluids or whatever inside the body. So whatever is going to allow you to have a tangible connection with this energy source that is inside all of us, okay?
Within and all around.
All right, so those are the 3 regulations. Some of the guidelines for practicing Qigong.
Oh, guidelines.
Guidelines.
Some guidelines.
Avoiding ice cold drinks.
Oh, shoot.
Avoiding
a lot of people like ice cold drinks.
Well, and if you're craving ice and ice cold drinks, it's a sign that your body's saying that there's an issue there. And in Chinese medicine, we call that an empty heat condition. We go into that later on. But actually, if you think about it, most of our bodies operate at about 98.5 degrees.
That's right.
If you put something from the icebox into your stomach, on average, it's about 54 or 55 degrees. That means that your stomach has to heat it up to 98.5 degrees to assimilate it. The other problem is that cold then transfers to the liver, which rests on top of the stomach and also binds the blood, so that we can see all kinds of conditions that show up as liver imbalances as a result of the cold and raw. Try not to eat
30 minutes before.
30 minutes before.
We said that yesterday. A clean place, right?
Yeah.
Nice space.
Yeah, obviously you won't want to be doing the Qigong sitting on the toilet. Though you can, but so the energy of your space is very important. We generally say that for women that are on their menses, on their moon cycle, that we shift the focus from the lower dantian, at least up to the heart center. And the other reason why is because our blood is our qi, and sometimes if we place too much attention, let's say with a white pearl meditation that we teach, then what can happen is that you can actually increase the amount of blood flow, which then increases the amount of qi that you're losing. So you just want to shift the focus. If it's that time of the month. Doesn't mean not do your Qigong practices. It just means shift your focus away from the lower dantian into our heart center. Okay, so those are just some of the telltale guidelines, all right? But we're going to go through the 3 chi clearing exercises. Okay, so we're going to start off here with our feet out, bow shoulders width apart, tip the tongue, gently curl to the roof of the mouth behind the teeth, as it's saying in the letter N. Breath is long, steady, even, and deep into the lower abdomen. And we're going to begin by pulling down the heavens 3 times, inhaling. And exhaling, following along. Again, you do this from a seated position as well.
I was just going to say that.
Inhaling and exhaling. And third pull, inhale. And exhaling. All right, first practice here is tossing the stone. So I'm going to bring the arms up about shoulder height, inhaling. Exhaling, shifting to what appears to be is my right, actually is my left. And I'm going to just gaze at the tips of the fingers, inhaling in the center, exhaling as I toss. Now this is where the mind intent comes in, because I'm going to go ahead and allow for any tension in the shoulders and the neck to release like a dark cloud. Going several feet away from the body and down deep into the ground.
We should be breathing in and out through the nose.
Yes, in and out through the nose. So you notice that we're moving a little bit faster. Now, if you want to really slow this down, you could definitely slow down. Inhale, center, exhale, and toss. So again, we're coming from our home in Burbank, California. We also live in San Jose. Our clinical practice we still have in San Jose, but we've expanded into the Los Angeles area. And
now we're on the World Wide Web.
In the World Wide Web, making the world a smaller place.
That's right.
All right, so we're going to allow for any excessive thoughts, feelings, or emotions to flow off like a dark cloud. Now, these 3 practices that we're going to cover today, this one here, tossing the stone, they're all meant to just really wake up the body. And what you may not be able to see, or what you may not notice, is that I'm actually shifting my weight back and forth. I'm grabbing the earth gently with my toes. And as I come to the end here, I'm going to slow it down. And then I'm going to finish off by pulling down the heavens 3 times. So connecting to your higher self, whatever that looks like to you. And exhaling. And inhaling. Just feel this connection with one another. And exhaling. And inhaling. And exhaling. Okay.
For the bouncing practice, we're going to bring our feet about hips width apart, toes forward, knees slightly bent. You can close the eyes or take a soft, unfocused gaze, and we're simply going to start to lightly bounce. With the weight on the balls of the feet, also known as the bubbling well point, the arches are lifted. Just take a moment and feel the soles of your feet connecting into the earth, and notice your connection down, 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 deep into the ground. As we move up the feet into the ankles, any tension or tightness in the ankles, feel it dissipate and leave the body now. Let's walk up the legs into the knees, just letting any tension, pain, or tightness in the knees leave out through the feet. Walking up the thighs, let's feel the hips and the groin. Give a slight little lift of the pelvic floor and elongate through the crown of the head. Then let's walk up the spine from the tip of the tail into the lower lumbar. Moving into the middle back, that space between the shoulders, just simply feel a relaxation of the muscles, tendons, and ligaments as we move up from the mid-back into the upper back and shoulders. Let your shoulders relax. Relaxing through the armpits, the upper arms, of the elbows, forearms, wrists, hands, and fingers. Shake anything off deep into the ground. Bringing your attention to the front of the neck for the voice box and clear communication. Feel the back of the neck. Feel your face relax. The ears, the back of the head. Then bring your attention to the crown of the head, and with your awareness, come an inch above your head. Pause with the bouncing, open the eyes. We're going to inhale, grab from the floor below you, lift the heels up so you're on the tippy toes, reach up, exhale, into the ground. And again, 2 more times. Deep breath, inhale, rising up, connecting floor to sky, and release into the ground. Try that 1 more time. Deep breath in, and release. That's it. Bring the feet just a little bit wider. Pull down heavens 3 times. Inhale, nice deep breath. Exhale, focusing on the front of the body, from the forehead down to the feet. And again, breathe in, collect from the space around you, and this time as you exhale, feel the back of the body from the head to the heels. And 1 more time, inhale. This time exhale and feel the very center. Ooh, the center core of your being.
Wow, that feels really good.
That's nice.
Now this last one here is called shaking the tree, and I love this practice because it's easy to do, plus it makes you kind of giggle.
Silly.
But did you realize that we're one of the only mammals or animals on land that does not shake it off when something happens?
Really?
Yeah, I mean, if a dog is happy to see you or angry, that dog will shake from head to toe.
True.
If 2 ducks get into a fight and the fight lasts a few seconds, and they swim away, the first thing they do is they flap their wings. The reason why is because they're conscious enough to realize that there's this vibration inside the body. If they didn't shake it off or flap it off, then they'd swim around the lake waiting for Bob to come around and pop them in the beak, like as humans do, right? So what happens with us is if somebody upsets us or we see something that's upsetting, then what will happen is that we suppress it, and that vibration, once it's suppressed, that's what creates the inflammation inside the body.
And also excitement. Like you'll see athletes or swimmers. I played water polo, and you'll see like before the meets, they're kind of like everyone's a little bit just just kind of like shaking a little.
Okay, so this is the
That's
practice.
what it is.
So the next time your spouse makes you upset,
He always says spouse.
go into another room and shake it off. And you may have to do it several times.
Or in the room if you really want to
Great.
take things to the
Really
next
slow.
level.
All right, so we're going to start with our fingertips, inhaling all the way up, and exhaling all the way down. So inhale all the way up, just letting that stuff go. And as silly as this may seem, inhaling all the way up. And a couple more here, inhaling all the way up. And last one, inhaling all the way up. And exhaling. And then we're going to finish off here by pulling down the heavens 3 times again.
A little heat there.
So if you have any heat that came up or any vibration that came up, just allow that to release. Inhaling. And exhaling, just allowing for any excess heat to vibration. And inhaling. And exhaling. Okay, we're going to place the white pearl. So priest will walk us through and place the hands over lower down Tien.
And the eyes can close or take a soft, unfocused gaze as you bring your breath down into the lower belly. And imagine a white mystical pearl sitting behind the hands and in front of the spine. And as you inhale, imagine the pearl expanding, growing brighter and lighter. And then as you exhale, the pearl dissipates and fills up the kidneys as if to recharge and replenish your chi, your life force energy. Inhale, expand the pearl, expand the breath, filling up your whole belly and body. And then exhale and pull that vital life force energy into the kidneys, renewing, invigorating. Inhale, expanding the pearl, filling up your belly, your body, this time filling up the entire space around you, all corners of the space around you. And then exhale and imagine as if the wall, floor, and ceiling can pull into your lower energy sphere, your sea of Qi. And one more time, inhale, expanding the pearl, expanding the breath, filling up your belly, your body, the space around you, and this time traveling as far and wide as the mind will go. Sending love and gratitude, appreciation, kindness, and compassion. And as you exhale, you settle into the knowing that all is well, and you are in the exact place, the right place at the right time. And when you're ready, slowly release and flutter the eyes open with a nice big smile.
Wow.
There's that smile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So going back to that shaking the tree practice, there's sometimes our bodies will force us to shake it off. My dad is a Vietnam vet, and he was shot down a couple of times. And one of the times he said, or the first time he was shot down, they got out under heavy gunfire, and he was back at the base camp at the bar later on that night, and he went to go drink a beer. And he said that when he went to put the beer to his mouth, his hands started violently shaking because his nervous system said, you know what, you pretend like you're a young 22-year-old tough guy, but you almost died there.
Wow.
Right? But a lot of times what will happen is that somebody will make us angry, or we get frustrated at something, or we see something on social media or on the news that makes us really angry or spiteful or whatever, and then we repress that
and
emotion.
You see this a lot.
Yeah.
I've noticed people are clenching their fists quite a bit more.
Quite a bit more. And so what happens is that's what actually will create this inflammation inside the body. And so, I would say that, most, again, as a recap from yesterday, most people don't realize that, first and foremost, your heart is the emperor, empress of the body, meaning it will dictate how much of an emotion will be expressed or suppressed. So this is our consciousness. But, the heart is affected by all the emotions, in particular abandonment, loneliness, lack of joy, or excitation. But then the heart, if you have a heartache or you lost, let's say, a parent or a loved one, the heart hurts and then it weakens your lungs. And a lot of times we'll see people who have lost a loved one, and then all of a sudden develop an unproductive dry cough. The unproductive dry cough is actually the grief stuck in the lungs.
Wow.
We'll see, when somebody's afraid of something, what happens? Your heart races, and then it weakens your kidneys, your adrenals, and your bladder.
Well, when kids are afraid, they might pee their pants.
Yes, and we'll see in clinical practice, actually, if I have, let's say, a 10-year-old kid or 11-year-old kid come in, all of a sudden they're wetting the bed, then I know that there's something going on inside the home, because there's some kind of fear or uncertainty in the kid's life, and that's the reason why the energy is releasing like it is.
The body's responding.
Worry and anxiety affects the heart, right? When you get anxious about something, it weakens your spleen and your pancreas, right? And then, if you're angry, resentful, have old anger or hatred towards a situation or people or group of people, then that affects the heart and then weakens your liver and your gallbladder. And I'd say that right now, we would say that there's so many different types of liver dysfunctions that we're seeing in clinical practice as a result of this emotional trauma. And a lot of times we'll see people with fatty liver disease that never have drinking because they haven't processed the anger properly. And anger is a good emotion. If anger causes you to fight for the underdog, then that's what that anger is for. If anger causes you to create positive change in the world, then that's what that anger is for. Or do something creative, because the liver energy expression is doing expansion, doing something creative. So we're talking gardening, cooking, dancing, painting, writing, journaling.
Dancing. Did you say that?
That's a dancing.
Oh, yeah.
And so anyway, so anger gets a bad rap. And some of the worst diseases that I see in clinical practice is when somebody doesn't even know what anger is.
I think perhaps maybe people's behavior when they're angry. is
Yes.
what
So
gets a bad rap.
yeah. So if you're having road rage, you're going home
Yeah.
and kicking the dog, or slapping the kids around or whatever, then obviously that anger is not serving you anymore. And then we really need to look at that. But if you have an explosive temper, one of the things that we do is we actually will look at the liver discord. And when anger is turned inward, you know what it turns into? Depression. So when we see patients in clinic with depression, we don't treat this. What happens? We treat the liver blood, which affects the heart blood, which then affects the brain. So it's a different way of physiology. Yeah, it's a different way of looking at the body.
That's so cool.
And like I was talking about yesterday when we saw Eckhart Tolle and Deepak Chopra, the Shrine Auditorium here in LA. Deepak Chopra had said that our brain is really the reflection of the reality. Our consciousness is actually here in the chest. So
wow, that's deep.
That's deep.
That is some matrix stuff going on.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to the questions.
Okay, let's go to the questions.
Well, first in the chat, I see Timothy, Alex.
Hey, Tim. Alex.
Oh, Alex had a good question.
Okay.
What about postpartum?
Postpartum depression. That's a great question, Alex.
Hello, Jonathan.
So that's such a really good question. So we're looking at, depending on, let's say if there's a blood loss, excessive blood loss, or trauma, then I would say, first and foremost, then we have to work on the kidney system, because that shock or that trauma has injured the kidneys, and that will contribute to the essence becoming weak, which then the heart and the kidneys communication gets offset due to this shock and this trauma. So kidney network, but also too, the other one too is liver blood.
The liver blood.
Liver blood. So if depending on how the pregnancy went and how the delivery process went, this also will affect the liver blood. The liver blood also affects uterine blood as well too. So again, postpartum depression, two major organs. One is kidneys, especially if there's a more severe. This will happen to my first son, our oldest son, Kyle. He's now 28 years old. She had a 20-hour dry labor. They did an episiotomy on her, and then what happened was that the forceps they had to mix and match, and they weren't working properly. After all this trauma, then what happened was that the fetus went into distress, the baby went into distress, and then had to end up going in for emergency C-section after all that ordeal. So see, that kind of stuff weakens the kidney system. That kind of shock weakens the kidney system. It affects the whole system. Because like I talked about yesterday, the kidneys are, besides secretion and excretion, the kidneys have so many different functions inside the body. So it's such a great question.
Yeah.
And Qigong could definitely help.
Yeah, well, it's Alex. We're releasing her testimonial on Friday.
Oh, that's right.
So yeah, Alex did have a very traumatic birthing experience where they had to airlift her. Yes, and she actually joined us from the ICU in the hospital, and so
on the Qi Club.
Yeah, we'll release that on Friday.
That's dedication.
So what you're saying is that focus on the kidneys and the liver the most.
Yeah, strengthening those kidneys, the white pearl meditation, for example, microcosmic orb meditation, kidney healing sound, kidney movement. You can have kidney foods too. What are kidney foods? A package of seaweed. Go to Trader Joe's and get a small package.
How about kidney beans?
Kidney beans, black
are
beans.
Good for the kidneys?
Black beans, Azuki beans. Tofu, organic tofu is good for you. It's gotten a bad rap, but organic tofu is actually really, really good for you. Goji berries. Walnuts. Handful of walnuts.
All right.
Brown rice. We also want to look at ocean fish, smaller fish in particular.
Oh, like sardines.
Sardines are excellent, great omegas, but also good for the kidney network. Not large fish. I tend to stay away from farm fish, and not large fish, because the larger the fish are, the more they swim around the ocean, the more for you to get. But those are just some of the things that help too. Bosch pears. Bosch pears, those brown pears are really good, especially for what we call kidney yin deficiencies. Apricot kernel, peaches, nectarines when they're in season, raisins and dates. So those are just some of the kidney foods that you could
start introducing
to help just your essence, to increase your essence again in your body.
Wow, thank you for that. Okay, there was a lot of questions about breath.
Mm.
One question from Claire. She said,
Hi,
how
Claire.
do you truly synchronize your movement with your breath?
Well, number one, slowing it down. And the misconception, for example, like when practicing Tai Chi, one of our Tai Chi masters, because the style of Tai Chi that I teach is from the Chen family, which is the oldest system. That's what my Sifu Tony Wong, Grandmaster Tony Wong. So our great Grandmaster Chen Jizhou in Chen Village there in China, they practice their Tai Chi like a martial art.
It's their job.
Like it's their job. They practice, seriously like 7 to 8 hours a day. That's dedication. And the misconception is, for example, well, I must inhale and the hands come up, and I must exhale as the hands come down. But Master Chen Xiaowang, one of his trips out here, said, well, if you think about it, it's like a boxer. A boxer doesn't inhale and exhale as he's throwing,
It's
five or six punches, right? It's normally just one breath, and then throwing 5 or 6 punches, right?
I see.
So in the very beginning here, for example, let's say if we're doing the microcosmic orbit meditation, which is the meditation where we inhale straight up the spine, exhale down through the front of the face, the chest, the abdomen. That's okay until we get used to this movement of this energy, using our mind intent, right? But then over time, what you may start to notice is that the movement of the chi, or the movement itself, of whatever it is that you're doing, may not coordinate with the breath. The most important thing is that we have the breath long, steady, even, and deep into the abdomen. And unless otherwise demonstrated, it's always through the nose.
So except for the healing sounds, obviously.
Right, yes.
And I guess what you're saying then is, so try to guide the breath into the belly and keep breathing. Right? And try your best, and then the rest will continue to flow.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And how can Qigong relieve muscle tension? I had missed a question yesterday from Jeremy. So one question is about muscle tension, but also about broken bones. He had broken his ankle bone, the talus bone, and was wondering, can Qigong help with broken bones and muscle tension, and what your thoughts on that?
Okay, so what's interesting about these internal organs is that they control different systems inside the body. So our muscles tend to be controlled by our spleen. Yes. Okay, what about our tendons, ligaments, and sinews?
The liver and the wood element.
Yes, the liver. Okay, so muscles in general, when we look at muscles, then we want to look at strengthening our spleen and our stomachs. If we're looking at tendons, ligaments, and sinews and nerve issues, then we want to look at treating the liver.
I see.
Okay.
So the question is, can Qigong help with broken bones?
It can help to expedite the process of healing the body, that's for sure.
I see. Yes.
Yes.
And obviously, if you can't stand, then you can sit and do the practice.
If you do the practices. So practices in particular that you do would be like the kidney exercises, like the white pearl meditation that Teresa closed us off with here today, and the kidney healing sounds. And again, introducing those kidney foods as well too. And just having an overall healthy diet and incorporating more green leafy vegetables into the diet, or broccoli, blanched vegetables into the diet as well too, will aid in this healing process as well. There's also an internal arnica that somebody could take too. I know this, he's asking about Qigong.
Yeah.
And so my big thing is, okay, well, how can we heal the body as quickly as possible? And Qigong will help to expedite the process. But if you really want the body to heal faster, there's actually an internal arnica that you could take.
It's called Cynic, or Alpine Pharmacies.
From Alpine Pharmacies is what we use for our patients.
There's a few other questions.
Okay,
for Matt.
Hey, Matt.
How can we obtain a permanent copy of these Chi Discovery Week sessions? Well, tune in on our YouTube channel. They will be there on the YouTube channel, and we will make sure to post these links as well on the Chi Club as well. And so we'll keep those available to the public for another 10 days or so, and then to the Chi Clubbers.
The current members.
Yeah, perpetuity.
Okay.
And in addition, can we obtain recordings of particular practices? Some are on YouTube, but he's interested in some other Tai Chi and deep cultivating practices. Matt.
So so there are obviously we're going to be expanding the first book of because the book deal that we did with this publishing company is to revamp the first book and to add more practices in that first book. There are definitely silk reeling practices. Matt, my Sifu Tony Wong, has a whole DVD on silk reeling practices, which I think you might find.
We have a copy of that?
Yes.
Oh, Matt, we can send that out to you.
We can send that out to you as well too. Some of the silk reeling, like I introduced silk reeling today on the Chi Club this morning, and so yeah, there are some more advanced practices that we can teach. Just generally for people that are brand new to the Chi Club, we try to keep it very simple and easy and approachable for everybody.
For all levels.
For all levels, yes.
Yes.
Okay, is there anything else?
I think, let's see, do you want one more question?
One more question.
Okay. Oh, this is an interesting question. There's quite a few. Okay, how about a new way to boost resiliency combining breath techniques with Qigong?
So that's the nice thing is that if you're able to go inward, and one of the things when I was competing and fighting with Tai Chi in tournaments, or just in forums, not even the martial art part of Tai Chi, but when I was competing in the Wushu category, let's say UC Berkeley or whatever, that's chaos.
Chaos.
There's like 13 rings going on at once.
Yes.
You have the Wushu teams competing.
Or how about at the Fit Expos?
Or the Fit Expos, yes, because also I teach at the Fit Expos on stage. That's chaos as well too.
Chaos.
And I'll have my friend Eric, the trainer, Billy Blanks from Taibo. He's a good friend of ours. He'll be up on stage. Andre Rush, the White House chef, will be on stage practicing Qigong. What's interesting is that we'll get 60 or 70 people, and if you've ever been to a Fit Expo before, there is so much noise and things going on.
It's a big warehouse type of environment. Everything's echoing. And
it's at the convention centers, right? So like Los Angeles Convention Center or Anaheim Convention Center, right? So it's massive, and we'll get 60 or 70 people all meditating, moving together in the zone, even with all this chaos going on around you. And that's one of the things that Tai Chi does for you, right? Is that it teaches you, and this is an analogy for life, is it teaches you that even if your outside environment is chaotic, to go inside and be still.
Wow.
To be still. So that's the key.
Good note to end on.
Yes. Okay, so once again, I want to thank you. It's great seeing you, Nancy Bergman. Wow, what a name.
She had dropped in there. I'm so proud of you.
Oh, thank you. You definitely played a big role in my journey and where I am today. So thank you so much.
But how do you spell love? Or did
how do we spell love? Well, we spell it like this: Love. Love. And then until tomorrow.
Oh, tomorrow. Oh, hello. Almost forgot. Yeah, tomorrow we're going to talk more about the ownership experience and what the Chi Club can do for you. If you liked today's session, please leave us a comment, share with your friends, and make it a great day.
Yes, let's say, okay, so until next time.
Until next time,
we will Chi you later. Bye.
Bye.
Everybody have a blessed day. See you tomorrow for day number 3 on your ownership experience. And please leave comments. Come up with any questions. I'd love to answer any health questions or any ways that you're curious of how Qigong can benefit you in your life.